Today we're embracing some stereotypes and doing a watercolor flower. Not quite the way you think, though. Hello and welcome back to Jenna Gets Creative. A couple of channels I'm in contact with often have recently done the Yellow Flower Art Challenge, started by Dina Tollefson, and thanks to seeing those videos, I discovered a great channel I hadn't been aware of before. Dina said the challenge is still open, so here I go, creating a floral piece to offer up as my contribution. The Yellow Flower Art Challenge calls artists to create a piece involving a flower, the color yellow, or both. At first, I considered actually doing a yellow flower, but I didn't want to do a sunflower and feel like I was copying Dina's underpainting from her video, and I wasn't inspired by any of the other yellow flowers I was looking at, so I decided to return to this water lily in my collection of reference photos that I haven't painted yet. It's actually already sketched out on the other half of the sheet where I painted the side view water lily when I tested out my Dr. P.H. Martin's Bombay India inks, 2 years ago this month, and I never got around to doing the other flower. Anyway, I sketched it out fresh on a new piece of paper because I wanted to change the composition, and I honestly don't remember what paper that old one is on anymore. Did I use watercolor paper? Mixed media? I don't know. Today's piece is being done on a piece of Legion Stonehenge cold press paper. I have a small block from an old subscription box. I want to say the November 2018 premium sketch box because that was my last one when I tried the subscription out, and it was a watercolor box, but somewhere in between then and now I tried a really messy piece on that block, and my tape failed me and I spoiled the edges of the next sheet. That's what I'm using today. I didn't mind trimming off a good 3 or 4 inches of the end to square it off. I actually ended up using the trimmed edge anyway because I needed a place to test what my washes looked like before I painted with them. The starting sketch was done using a Prismacolor Kohl Erase pencil in scarlet for the flower and green for the lily pad, and I love using these under watercolor and ink media because they do blend and soften a bit, but I also love the fact that I can pick a color that's more suited to the piece I'm doing and there's no graphite shine. So if any of the sketch is visible at the end, you're not going to notice it. I'm going for more of a, this is obviously a painting, not a photo look, so I'm not worried about the possibility that the sketch might be visible at the end. But I don't think you'll notice it once I start going in with the darker layers anyway. The watercolor I'm using in today's video is actually watercolor markers, not simply water-based markers, but watercolor paint in marker form. I like to start with diluted washes, so what I'll do is I'll scribble on the sides of one of my little dollar store ceramic ramekins and add water, make my lightest wash, use it, then start scribbling more ink into the sides and mixing it into the wash to get darker and darker colors. For a lot of this footage, you're just going to see me working with those washes. I made a blue one for the water by mixing a couple of my blue markers with Payne's Gray and a little yellow, and as I darkened it up, I did add a touch of black. The green for the lily pad was the same thing without the gray and the black, and heavier on the yellows. The pink for the flower was my 2 pinks and my red. I do have the former full range of Caran Brush Marker Pro liquid watercolor markers, before they introduced their neons, but I didn't use those at all in today's piece. I only used my Winsor Newton and my Faber-Castell Albrecht Dürer pens, and I don't have many. I have 2 of the Faber-Castells from a Scrawler box last year, Phthalo Blue and Cadmium Yellow, and those both claim to be completely light fast. For the Winsor Newtons, I got the shade Pale Rose from that November 2018 sketch box, and that's what got me interested in watercolor markers. From there, I just wanted to pick out some primaries, but I wanted warm and cool colors for the typical red, blue, yellow system, and I wanted CMYK, and I splurged for a couple of convenient shades, so my other 11 markers are black, Payne's Gray, yellow ochre, lemon yellow hue, cadmium yellow hue, cadmium red hue, permanent rose, cerulean blue hue, phthalo blue red shade, phthalo blue green shade, and turquoise. All of the Winsor Newton watercolor markers are rated Permanence A, whatever that means, but only some of them list an ASTM light fastness rating on the barrels, so I'm not sure if that means the others aren't light fast, or if they just hadn't been tested yet. Either way, with those 12 colors, yes, I know the Fabers make 14, but they're duplicate shades, I am able to mix any color I need. It's very tempting to buy the full range and have a bunch of convenient shades, but for the amount of time I actually spend working with these, it's not worth it. The Karens aren't either, but they don't have smaller sets with a color selection built this way, the open stock is overpriced, and I got a great deal last Easter during Marker Universe's Easter egg hunt event, so that's why my colors of the month pieces are usually those. I will use them, gosh darn it. You're going to start seeing me pull out some other techniques with these and then adding other media really soon here, if I haven't already. I never really know how these scripted voiceovers are going to line up with my footage once I speed it up. I'll explain those techniques in a minute, but first let me tell you about the giveaways I have coming up. The first is the Let's Get Jenna Monetized giveaway. Once this channel has the watch hours I need to apply for monetization, I'll open entries for this contest, and you'll be entering to win your choice of 3 possible prize packs. All prize pack options include a small original artwork, and the options are the collection of art supplies I've been setting aside for a giveaway, the duplicate fantasy genre books on my shelf, or a custom book depository order placed on your behalf. The second giveaway coming up is the Let's Get Jenna to 2K giveaway, and you guys are going to make that happen soon, I can tell. I've seen a bit of a surge starting in the last week. Hopefully I'm not jinxing it now. That giveaway will open once this channel has hit and held on to 2,000 subscribers for a few days, just to make sure you guys aren't running away again. And then that'll be your choice of an Amazon gift card or a book depository order. More details for both giveaways are in the description box down below. For both, you do need to be at least 14 years of age and subscribed to this channel. With the exception of the Amazon gift card, which will be delivered through email, winners will also need to be willing and able to provide a mailing address to receive your prize, and I'll get that from you privately if you're selected as winner. Back to the painting. As I needed to get darker and darker with my colors, I started lifting the paint directly out of the marker nib with a paintbrush and applying it to the paper that way. Sometimes I used a very wet brush to get more of a wash, or applied water on top of it right away to blend it out, and sometimes I lifted and applied it as dry as possible for maximum color saturation and for texture. When it came time to add the yellow tips, I went straight in with the fine nib of the marker and applied that directly to the page. I don't do that often with watercolor markers because they will still absolutely start to eat the paper if you attempt anything fancy, and if you want to water it down and blend it out, you need to get it right away while the paint is wet, so doing large areas doesn't work out so well. Even with the best watercolor markers that are almost completely water soluble when you act quickly, if you're too slow or work too big at once, you're going to have ghosting from the original marker nib strokes. If that's the technique you're going for, great. If it's your first layer and you're going to build up a lot on top of it, probably not a problem. If it's your 10th layer on a highly detailed piece and everything below it is also water-soluble marker, you're going to make a mess. I don't look at watercolor markers as a replacement for traditional watercolor at all. I look at them as an interesting in-between medium for artists who are familiar and comfortable with ink, but also like the properties that make watercolor unique. This achieves that transparent look of watercolor, it reactivates, and the finished result is softer than ink. But it lets you work in ink washes, and it gives you the option of marker nibs for bolder things as well. Am I ever going to go all out and get a full set of these in either brand of marker? Probably not, unless I come into a lot of money and don't mind splurging on supplies I don't use often. If I were to happen to be gifted with more of them, I'd be happy with either brand, Winsor Newton or Faber-Castell, but I would have to give the edge to Faber's because their line is all Lightfast tested and labeled, and the shades all match up exactly with their other lines across all their mediums. 107 Cadmium Yellow in the markers looks exactly the same as 107 Cadmium Yellow in the watercolor pencil form, looks exactly the same as 107 Cadmium Yellow in Polychromos pencils, looks exactly the same as 107 Cadmium Yellow in soft pastels, etc. Mixed media artist's dream. Speaking of mixed media, when I was done with taking paint directly off the marker nibs, I darkened up the red center and added a little more shadow and grit to the petals with some colored pencils. I used my Faber-Castell Gold Faber pencils because I prefer to save the Polychromos pencils for purely pencil work, but again, Shades in Faber-Castell products match across mediums and lines, so same difference. When I peeled away my tape, it had let some of the blue of the water escape a bit in the corners, which is always a nuisance when that happens. I really need to switch tape brands, this stuff is too cheap. But it's not the end of the world. This is already a mixed media piece, and it's already not super tidy style, so I broke out some white acrylic to paint over the white border, and I let the inner edge be messy. I used my Sennelier Abstract acrylic in titanium white, purely because it's the last acrylic white I used, so it was on top of the pile in my box of paint tubes and bottles, but it is a nice acrylic. And there's the final piece. Stalk me on Instagram or check out the Art Addicts Alliance Discord server for a cute picture of my cat posing with it. Don't forget to like, comment, maybe even subscribe, and if you like living life creatively, whatever that means to you, I'd love to have you along for the ride. Bye guys!